Hi, welcome to Pause Uni's For Students by Students podcast. I'm your host Nola, and this is a podcast where we have student-led conversations about mental and emotional health. This week, we're joined by the University of Birmingham's community safety team, where they're going to talk about how to keep yourself safe on your campus. I really hope you enjoy.
Hello everyone, my name is Sharon. I'm part of the community safety team at the University of Birmingham, and I'm happy to be here. We're talking all things safety in the UK, and I'm joined by my colleagues Daniel and Glenn. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Daniel. I work alongside Sharon as part of the community safety team at the University of Birmingham, and then we're also joined by Glenn here.
Hello, I'm part of the West Midlands Police, based on campus, part of the policing team.
So on today's episode, we're talking all things safety for students studying in the UK. Daniel, can you tell us about the community safety team and what we do?
Yeah, of course. So the community safety team are a team based on campus, and our primary role is crime prevention. So this is advice to both students and staff, anyone that's in the community really. We kind of prioritise wraparound care for students, so they might have been seen to by the police force or security, and we kind of deal with all things aftercare if they might need any signposting or any help after any incidents they might have on campus really.
So the West Midlands Police form a big part of our team and what we do here on campus. Glenn, can you tell us about how your role fits into that of the community safety team?
Yeah, so there's currently 4 of us based on campus at the moment. So we work in conjunction with security, community safety team. So we support students whether they've been a victim of crime, do safety stalls, safety talks. If they have been a victim of crime, they can come and ask for an update. We can give them an update. If they need help, support, want to report anything to the police, we can help with that. And it's just a bit of reassurance. And we also do like housing when they're out on their like second, third year when they're not based on campus. So we go out, do visits, whether they've been a victim of a burglary, a robbery, anything like that. So it's just all about the aftercare reassurance, working in conjunction with the police as well as community safety team and security and the university.
Glenn, can I ask, is it true that all universities will have like a campus police officer or someone that's there in a police respect for the university?
Yeah, so most campuses have a designated police officer. They might not necessarily be based on campus, but there will be a point of contact that you can contact. So whether you might have to go to their security or student services or anything like that, if you want to contact them, then you can contact them that way, or you could go through the non-emergency phone line, which is 101, and that applies to all the police forces throughout the UK, and then you'd probably be able to get hold of your campus officer that way as well.
Yeah, that's a really good resource to use. As I'm sure many of you know, it's very difficult to get a face-to-face conversation with a police officer a lot of the time, so if you are a university student, it's a really good resource that you can lean on and utilise if you just like that kind of one-to-one care, speaking to an actual police officer in person.
I always say that studying in the UK has a lot of aspects to it, and safety and security is not something you usually think about until something happens to you. So which is why podcasts and episodes like this and having resources like this is really important, and it's important for you to know what we have available. So Dan, what are some of the things that we deal with when it comes to safety? I know during the peak hours there are peak things that we deal with. So if it's welcome week, it's usually burglary and stuff like that. If it's nights out, you have a bit of spiking here and there, and then you have to like deal with settling disputes between flatmates and stuff. Can you tell us a bit more about some of the common things that we deal with?
Yeah, of course. So some of the most common crime that we deal with on campus, which I think is shared by many university campuses across the UK, is bike theft. It's quite an opportunistic crime that happens. I think it's quite low-level crime really. But other than that, we also deal with some more serious incidents, of course, as well, such as Sharon mentioned, spiking, various assaults. You can really deal with anything. Most universities are kind of like small villages or little cities, so whatever you can experience out in the wide world, you'll get that same experience on a university campus, obviously to a much lesser degree, but these are some of the things that we deal with, and this is the reason that we have police officers working with the universities, why we have security teams and safety teams. It's not a massive part of university life. Most students thankfully will go through their whole kind of course without going through anything, thankfully, but we're there as the stopgap for if something does go wrong, we can kind of help out.
I'm really glad you mentioned opportunistic crimes, because most students do not pay attention to the general basic safety rules that they have whilst they're on campus, like lock your doors. Because we went on a burglary campaign, and I think on one of the lanes we knocked on the door and literally just opened and there was no one in there.
Yeah.
So if you leave your door like that, definitely somebody might go in and steal your stuff, and you just gave them the opportunity to.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for students to be aware of their environment and just take note of the basic safety things that they already know and just implement them. So let's talk about scamming. It's one of the big things, especially for international students, that we deal with. Glenn, can you give us like a few safety tips on how to prevent scamming and prevent students from falling victim to scamming?
Yeah, so a lot of the scams we get, especially here, are to do with international visas. So they'll get an email saying they owe money towards, they've got to pay towards a visa, or they'll be deported, and then a lot of students will pay the money without getting the email checked to see if it's legit or not. So our advice would be, if you get any kind of email around offering you a job, visa,
BRP.
You got
BRP.
BRP, anything like that really, it's best to come and speak to us. You can speak to any of your lecturers, security staff, you can get it all checked over like that. Or if you're still unsure, you can phone 101, speak to the police. Just please get it checked before you pay any money or give details out or anything like that, because you don't want to become a victim of fraud where you're sending personal details or money or anything like that, because it's quite difficult to get it back.
Yeah, just to second what Glenn is saying there. So a lot of people that are listening to this, you might be of a younger age, so you're never expected to know everything. Obviously growing up is a series of lessons, and it's very important that you lean on the people that are around you. So in a university respect, that will be, as Glenn mentioned, your lecturers, your security team, safety teams, anyone in a kind of position of care. But then again, universities are big melting pots, they're like little villages, so if there's anyone that you trust, an adult that okay, give me a sec. Yeah, so if there's anyone that you do trust at the university, I'm sure there'll be many, please do just ask them a question, because honestly, most people will always be willing to lend a hand, and will have been in a similar position to you at one point in their life. So it's okay if you don't have all the answers. It's just important that you're kind of courageous enough to ask the question, even if you might be embarrassed by something. It might be the case that you've already sent some money and you feel like there's no one to turn to. In this respect, you can always go to the police, you can always go to your security teams on campus, as Glenn mentioned, your lecturers. These people are all looking out for you, and we want the best for you. So you will never be judged, you'll always be welcomed and signposted to the best of any of our abilities.
Honestly, when it comes to scamming, my heart goes out to the students that fall victim to it, because I'm also an international student. I'm not now, but I was an international student, and when it comes to your visa, your BRP, your permission to be in the country to study is a big part of your entire journey. So if something threatens that, I get the fear that comes with, oh my gosh, I need to sort this out before they kick me out of this country. But you don't have to do that immediately. Don't ever send anything to anybody immediately until you ask the question and make sure that you've verified it. So we've been talking about reporting to the police. Glenn, can you give us some pointers if somebody has been scammed or has fallen victim to fraud or has any other crime to report, what's the steps? What do they do?
Okay, so your best protocol is please don't feel silly or embarrassed or anything like that to report to the police. That this is what we're here for. So your best protocol would be, if it's been fraud, you'd phone 101. That would go through to our switchboard, and that's like the non-emergency phone number. And then you'd explain what happened, and then they would report it through. It goes through action fraud if it's online fraud, and then it will get reported that way, and then action fraud will look into it. But if it's, say, like, I don't know, you've come home and you've been burgled, and you're not too sure, like the door's wide open, you look in, you're not too sure, I would definitely suggest phoning 999. Don't go in, because I would class that as an emergency, because you don't know if the person's still there or whether they've left or anything like that. So please don't be frightened to phone 999. I know that's the emergency phone number, but they're not going to have a go at you on the end of the phone for phoning. You know, you're reporting something anyway, so it's not as though it's like a malicious call. But please don't be embarrassed or worried about calling.
Yeah, can I just ask you a further question on that, please, Glenn? So I've got some understanding on this, but in terms of making a call to the 999, the emergency number, versus 101, the non-emergency number, in what instance would you say a call kind of necessitates dialing 999 versus 101? Is there a kind of a baseline? Is there, or is it, I don't know, maybe you can explain a little better to me.
Okay, so you'd phone 999 if it's an emergency, so if there's a threat there, if something's happened and the other person's still in the vicinity, or anything like that, you feel in immediate danger, then that's 999. If something's happened, like say your car window's been broke and you get there and there's nobody else there, that would probably be a 101 number, because there's no threat there at that precise moment in time.
Right.
But if you're not sure, still phone 999. They're not going to have a go at you down the phone, because if you're unsure, it's best to phone up to report it rather than just leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really helpful to know. Thank you for that, Glenn.
I think one thing that I also wanted to talk about is, with us doing this job, the students that come in, and sometimes they wait so long before they make a report of something because they don't think it's a big issue, because they don't feel like their life is in danger. They don't think it's a big issue, or they feel like they're doing too much reporting to the police or reporting to security. Please don't ever feel that. If you feel like your safety is compromised, if you feel like you're in trouble, you have questions, there's nothing that's too big or too little for you to report to the police or security, because that's basically why we're paid. We're paid to make sure that your safety is okay. So please don't feel like anything is too much to report.
Yeah.
So I have a scenario for you. Say I'm a student and I witness my friend go through something, say an assault, or they've had crime done against them by somebody, and I witness that, but the friend that's the victim of the crime does not want to report it to the police or to security. As the bystander friend, what do I do? What options do I have? Because usually people like that will feel guilty because they are not able to help their friend, and you can't force somebody to do something that they do not want to do. So as the bystander, what options are available to me?
So I'll start here just from a community safety and security point of view, and then I'm sure we can get Glenn's point of view on this as well. But with this scenario, it's always difficult if someone doesn't want to report it themselves as the victim, because of course it's down to that individual as to whether they want to report something or not. However, as a witness to an incident, you're well within your right to also report this. This is a conversation that you can have with your friend as well. There is an option for anonymous reporting as well, and with anonymous reporting, and we can speak more on this, Glenn, in a moment, all this does is help the police build up a kind of picture as to what's happening in a certain place or an environment. So for example, say you've just been punched on the street, but you don't want to fully report it for whatever reason that you might have, you can still report it in an anonymous respect, which means that the police will still be notified that this happened in this area, and it means that they can also adjust their patrol strategies to include this. So for example, if no one reports that this is happening on a certain road, it might be happening every other day, and it's okay if you want to stay anonymous. You can still give that information to the police, and then hopefully they can do something around that. But we can ask for Glenn's opinion on this now as well.
So yeah, so you can report it anonymously. There's like charities like Crime Stoppers you can report things to, and don't leave any details. And then, like as Dan says, it just builds up a bigger picture for the police in that specific area if stuff's happened. You can report it to the police as a third party. It would just go down. It would just get looked into, and then whatever it was, it would just get crimed, and it would probably just get filed. But then, as Dan said, then we know that things are happening in that specific area, and then we can adjust like patrol strategies and all this kind of stuff around that event that's took place. But there's several options you can do, like come and speak to your local security on campus, or if they've got a community safety team or anything like that. And then, like if you've been a witness to an assault, say, and it might affect you like mentally or whatever that would be, then it's probably best to just come and have a chat with someone to get it off your chest if you need to. And then if we need to put any referrals in and all that kind of stuff, we can do that for you to help you, even though your friend might not want to report it properly to the police or the authorities or whatever. But obviously, please don't feel like you can't speak to someone. You can, and then we might be able to help you, even though you've not been the actual victim. We can just do it as as like a reassurance type follow-up type thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you guys for that. So I want to shift the conversation to the person that does not want to report it. Obviously, there might be several reasons why they don't want to report it, but usually one of the famous reasons is that they don't think the police is going to do anything about it, or they don't think they're going to get the resolution they want once they report it. So for somebody like that, Glenn, what are you going to tell them?
So I would definitely say, if you've been a victim, report it. When you've reported it, then it gets a crime report then gets created, and then once that's created, you will be notified of that crime number if you're not already on the phone, and then that crime report then will get allocated to the relevant department, and then when that department gets that crime report, the officer in charge then will notify you that they're in charge of your investigation. You would get updated however many days you've agreed to, so that could be once a day, once a week, once a month, however the investigation goes. And then if there's no lines of inquiry like CCTV, witnesses, statements, all that kind of stuff, then your investigation might get filed, because there's no way of determining, changing the act, like getting an offender, say, at the end, because there's no witnesses, CCTV, forensics, anything like that. So there's no way of finding an offender, if you see what I mean. But every crime report does get looked into, but it does get explained to you why it does get filed, if you see what I mean. So if it gets filed, you'll be notified it's filed because of the X, Y and Z, or your investigation is being looked into and we've got some lines of inquiry, and you'll be updated in a week, 2 weeks, or whatever that is time. But please don't think that the police don't look at every crime, because we do. It just might not go in the way that you want it to, if you see what I mean. Which it's quite difficult to try and manage expectations sometimes around that. But please still report it, and it does get looked into. And I know sometimes it can be frustrating, but yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. That's it on community safety from us. Please remember that if you want to report or have a conversation with the police. The non-emergency number is 111 and the emergency number is 999. And feel free to contact your local community safety team or your well-being officers or your local security team in case anything happens. Don't keep anything to yourself and keep yourself safe out there. Thank you.
What a great and informative conversation by the University of Birmingham's community safety team. Now, if this conversation triggered something on the inside of you, then I suggest you go and speak with your campus wellbeing team. If they're not available, then maybe you want to make use of the Samaritans or the Papyrus numbers down in the description below. It's really important you keep yourself safe. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. Why don't you stay tuned for the next one? Thanks.